What is it like to grow up as both a symbol of tradition and a child searching for normalcy? For Prince William and Prince Harry, their childhood was a unique blend of royal privilege and deeply human experiences, shaped by a mother who dared to challenge the norms of monarchy. Princess Diana's parenting redefined life behind palace walls, bringing love, spontaneity, and a touch of normality to a world of unrelenting public scrutiny. From playful adventures and heartfelt lessons to the life-altering tragedy of her loss, their early years were a blend of joy, resilience, and profound transformation. Let's dive into each of these elements in a chronological order. In the early hours of June 21, 1982, the world welcomed a new prince, William Arthur Philip Louis, the firstborn of Prince Charles and Princess Diana. From the moment he entered Kensington Palace, he carried the weight of royal expectations as the heir to the British throne. Just 2 years later, on September 15, 1984, his younger brother, Henry Charles Albert David, affectionately known as Harry, arrived, completing the family and establishing what would become the dynamic of the heir and the spare. Life in the royal nursery at Kensington Palace was a unique mix of tradition and modernity. The boys' earliest years were shaped by an environment that was both steeped in royal protocol and influenced by Diana's progressive parenting style. Unlike previous generations where nannies and staff played the dominant role in child rearing, Diana was determined to be a hands-on mother. She insisted on spending as much time as possible with her sons, breaking centuries-old norms in the process. The nursery itself was nothing short of luxurious. Decorated with soft pastel tones and filled with custom-designed toys, it was a space designed to nurture and protect. Yet Diana ensured it was not a place of isolation. She often invited other children from nearby households to play with William and Harry, exposing them to life outside the royal bubble from an early age. One of the most remarkable aspects of Diana's approach was her belief in emotional connection. "I hug my children to death," she once said. "I always feed them love." True to her words, Diana's bedtime rituals were cherished moments for the young princes. She would read them stories, tuck them in personally, and kiss them goodnight. These small but significant gestures of affection laid the foundation for a bond between mother and sons that would remain unbreakable, even in tragedy. Kensington Palace, though grand, was still a home for the boys. Diana made it clear that she wanted them to experience the joy of childhood, even amidst the pomp and ceremony of royal life. Whether it was crawling around the palace corridors or playing with their nanny's Labrador, the young princes had a freedom that their royal titles couldn't constrain. Family gatherings added another layer to their early years. Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, while formal in public, doted on their grandchildren privately. Charles, though often busy with his duties, found moments to engage with his sons, sharing his love of classical music and gardening with William, who showed a particular interest in these quieter pursuits. Harry, however, was more inclined to tug on his father's sleeve for a game of hide-and-seek or a playful wrestle. These formative years were not without challenges. The cracks in Charles and Diana's marriage, though not yet public, cast subtle shadows over family life. Diana worked tirelessly to shield her sons from the tension, ensuring that the nursery remained a haven of joy and security. To the outside world, they were the perfect royal family. Within the walls of Kensington Palace, Diana's determination to create a loving, nurturing environment for her boys never wavered. By 1985, William and Harry were beginning to grow out of their nursery years. But the foundation Diana had built, marked by affection, laughter, and a semblance of normalcy, would stay with them forever. By the mid-1980s, Prince William and Prince Harry were blossoming under the nurturing guidance of their mother. As the boys moved from their infancy into early childhood, Diana's influence became even more pronounced. For her, being a mother was not a duty bound by royal tradition, but an expression of pure love and devotion. She was determined to give her sons experiences that balanced the grandeur of royalty with the innocence of a normal childhood. Diana's approach to parenting stood in contrast to the rigid practices of the royal family. Traditionally, royal children were cared for by nannies and governesses, often at a significant emotional distance from their parents. Diana broke this mold entirely. From insisting on personally taking her children to school for the first time to holding their hands as they explored the world, she became a hands-on mother in ways the monarchy had rarely seen. Her love was evident in the everyday moments. In the mornings, she often joined the boys in the nursery, where they would have playful tickle sessions or build towers with wooden blocks. Diana would sometimes even crouch down on the floor in her designer outfits, unbothered by the threat of wrinkles, just to engage with their games. She was never afraid to get down to our level, literally and figuratively, Harry later reflected. Evenings were equally special. She had a knack for bringing characters to life with her expressive voice and stories. Harry, with his boundless energy, often tried to coax an extra story out of her, while William, the more serious of the two, would listen intently, soaking in every word. One of Diana's parenting philosophies was her belief in showing love through physical affection, something rarely seen in the royal family. She hugged her boys openly and often, unafraid of public scrutiny. "They need to know that they're loved, truly loved," she once said in an interview. Outside the palace walls, Diana made efforts to introduce her sons to life beyond royalty. She frequently organized outings that provided glimpses of ordinary life. Whether it was a trip to the zoo, a visit to a nearby farm, or a simple walk in Hyde Park, Diana wanted William and Harry to see themselves not just as princes, but as boys who could climb trees, laugh at silly jokes, and marvel at the world around them. The young princes were also beginning to notice their mother's public life. Diana's role as the Princess of Wales often required her to attend glamorous events or embark on diplomatic trips, but she always returned home with stories to share. She made these tales relatable for her boys, painting vivid pictures of the people she met and the places she visited. Her stories became windows into a larger world, sparking William's curiosity and Harry's imagination. For most families, mealtime is a mix of routine and ritual, and for young Prince William and Prince Harry, it was no different, though their meals came with a unique royal twist. Between buffets at Kensington Palace and Diana's indulgent yet practical parenting, the boys' dining habits were a fascinating blend of formality and freedom. This period of their lives revealed much about their personalities and the family dynamics behind the palace doors. One of the most distinctive features of their childhood meals was the buffet-style presentation. Unlike formal royal dinners that might come to mind, where courses were served in elaborate succession by footmen, meals for the young princes were designed to feel approachable and fun. Former royal chef Darren McGrady recalled how Diana insisted the food be laid out buffet-style so the boys could help themselves. At Kensington Palace, the food was always served on the sideboard buffet style, so the boys could go back for more and more and more, McGrady shared in an interview. The freedom to choose their portions wasn't just practical. It also encouraged William and Harry to explore their preferences. Harry, ever the lively one, was known for returning to the buffet multiple times, often with an eye on the desserts. Banana flan in particular became a firm favorite. McGrady fondly remembered the excitement in their voices as they spotted their beloved treat. Whenever the boys were home, Princess Diana would write banana flan in the menu book, he explained. They'd come into the kitchen and say, "Yes," when they saw it. However, not everyone in their household shared Diana's flexible mindset. The boys' nanny was a stickler for nutritious meals, often insisting they eat their vegetables and protein first. McGrady remembered one incident where he received a note requesting pizza for dinner instead of the planned chicken. But the handwriting gave it away. It was written by a young Harry, clearly attempting to orchestrate his ideal meal. The nanny was having none of it, McGrady laughed. She insisted they stick to the chicken. These little battles over food reflected broader themes of balance in the boys' upbringing. Diana's love and indulgence were balanced by the nanny's insistence on discipline. This interplay shaped William and Harry, teaching them the importance of both freedom and boundaries. While life inside Kensington Palace offered comfort and luxury, Princess Diana believed that her sons, William and Harry, needed to experience the world beyond its gilded gates. By the early 1990s, her hands-on approach to parenting had evolved to include a series of adventures designed to show her boys a side of life that royal traditions often ignored. These outings became a defining part of their childhood, allowing them to see the world through a more grounded and relatable lens. One of Diana's favorite ways to break the royal mold was through simple outings to places like McDonald's. For most children, a visit to the fast food chain is a mundane treat, but for the young princes, it was an escape into ordinary life. Darren McGrady, their royal chef, recalled being surprised when Diana told him to cancel the boys' lunch one day because she was taking them to McDonald's. "I said, 'Oh, Your Royal Highness, I can make burgers,' and she replied, 'No, it's the toy they want,'" McGrady recounted with a smile. For William and Harry, the joy of these trips wasn't just about the food. It was the novelty of picking their meals and receiving the little plastic surprises that came with them. Theme parks were another one of Diana's go-to escapes. Thorpe Park, a popular British amusement park, became a family favorite. Between 1991 and 1993, Diana took the boys there multiple times, and each visit was filled with laughter and excitement. William, the more cautious of the two, often opted for gentler rides, while Harry, ever the thrill-seeker, couldn't get enough of the roller coasters. Diana herself loved joining in, though she reportedly avoided the high-speed flying fish ride. These trips were far more than just fun days out. They were opportunities for Diana to give her boys memories that felt like those of any other child, untainted by their royal responsibilities. Not all adventures involved leaving the palace grounds. Diana often hosted playdates for William and Harry, inviting children from outside the royal circle. These gatherings were lively and full of laughter, with games of tag sprawling across the Kensington Gardens. William, the natural protector, often took on the role of referee, while Harry, with his boundless energy, was usually the instigator of mischief. By the early 1990s, the lives of Prince William and Prince Harry were beginning to change in profound ways. The carefree days of nursery play and adventures with their mother were giving way to the structure and routine of school life. For Diana, this transition marked an important milestone, an opportunity for her sons to experience a degree of normalcy within the framework of their royal upbringing. William, the elder of the two, was the first to step into this new chapter. In 1992, at the age of 10, he enrolled at Ludgrove School, a prestigious boarding school for boys aged 8 to 13. Known for its focus on academic excellence, sports, and character development, Ludgrove was a natural choice for a future king. Despite his royal status, William quickly adapted to life at school. His reserved and thoughtful nature helped him navigate the social dynamics of a shared environment, and he soon became well-liked among his peers. Teachers noted his curiosity and diligence, often describing him as a conscientious student who took his responsibilities seriously. Harry, on the other hand, began his schooling at Wetherby School, a private day school in London. At just 8 years old, Harry's personality was already shining through. Unlike his brother's reserved demeanor, Harry's outgoing and cheeky nature made him a favorite among classmates and teachers alike. Diana often walked Harry to school herself, holding his hand and chatting with other parents at the gates. It was another way she sought to blend royal life with a sense of everyday normalcy. The boys' experiences at school provided their first major separation from one another. At home, they had shared everything: meals, playtime, and the close bond of brotherhood. But now, their differing paths were beginning to emerge. While William was immersed in the world of boarding school, with its shared dormitories and weekend matches on the rugby field, Harry was still enjoying the comforts of daily life at Kensington Palace. This separation allowed each of them to develop their individual identities. For Diana, education wasn't just about academics. She saw it as a means of broadening her sons' horizons and instilling in them the values of empathy and curiosity. While their schools were among the most elite in Britain, Diana made sure William and Harry understood that privilege came with responsibility. She encouraged them to engage with their classmates as equals, never using their royal status as a barrier or an advantage. By the mid-1990s, the bond between Prince William and Prince Harry had evolved into a dynamic shaped not only by their sibling relationship, but also by the weight of their respective roles within the royal family. As the heir to the throne, William's life was increasingly defined by expectations and preparation for his future responsibilities. Harry, meanwhile, began to realize his role as the spare, a term that, while steeped in tradition, carried its own set of pressures and complexities. The phrase "the heir and the spare" has long been part of royal vernacular, signifying the primary role of the eldest child and the secondary position of their siblings. For William and Harry, this dynamic became more pronounced as they grew older. William's life began to revolve around the responsibilities tied to his future as king. This included lessons in statesmanship, diplomacy, and public speaking, all introduced in subtle but intentional ways during his teenage years. Harry, on the other hand, found himself navigating a different path, one where his role was less defined, but still vital within the royal structure. School life further highlighted their contrasting paths. By 1994, William had settled into life at Eton College, one of Britain's most prestigious boarding schools. The decision to send him to Eton was significant. It marked a departure from the tradition of royal children attending Gordonstoun, the remote Scottish boarding school Charles had famously struggled with. At Eton, William thrived in the structured academic environment, excelling in history and geography while developing his leadership skills. His time at Eton also gave him a degree of independence, as the school's ethos encouraged students to think critically and engage with the world beyond their immediate surroundings. Harry, still attending Ludgrove at the time, was forging his own identity. Unlike William's reserved demeanor, Harry was known for his outgoing and slightly rebellious streak. Teachers described him as lively and engaging, with a natural charisma that drew people to him. However, his free-spirited nature occasionally clashed with the expectations placed on him as a prince, leading to moments of mischief that hinted at the challenges he would face in adulthood. The growing distinction between their roles occasionally led to tension. In his memoir, Harry would later recount how William, while at Eton, asked him to pretend not to know him during school visits to avoid interfering with his social life. Though Harry agreed at the time, the request underscored the unspoken divide between their public and private lives. For Harry, being the spare meant navigating a space where he was both integral to the royal family, yet often overshadowed by his elder brother. Diana, however, was determined to bridge this gap. She worked tirelessly to ensure that both boys felt equally loved and supported. Whether it was through handwritten notes left on their pillows or spontaneous adventures to escape palace life, she made it clear that their value as individuals went far beyond their royal titles. "You're both special in your own way," she often reminded them. By 1996, the cracks in Charles and Diana's marriage had widened into an official separation. This period was particularly challenging for William and Harry, who found themselves grappling with the reality of their parents' increasingly public struggles. William, as the older sibling, took on a more protective role, often comforting Harry during difficult moments. Harry, in turn, provided William with a sense of levity, helping him navigate the emotional weight of their family's challenges. This period also marked the beginning of their understanding of the press's impact on their lives. While they had always been aware of the cameras that followed their every move, the tabloid coverage of their parents' separation brought a new level of scrutiny. Diana, sensitive to the boys' feelings, shielded them as much as possible. But the tension was palpable. Despite the challenges, her unwavering presence remained a source of comfort and stability. Amid the structured responsibilities of royal life, William and Harry found solace and freedom in the outdoors. From sprawling royal estates to the more modest gardens of Kensington Palace, nature became an essential part of their upbringing. Encouraged by their parents and grandparents, the boys developed a love for the natural world, which provided them with a sense of grounding and normalcy during a period of increasing public scrutiny. Prince Charles, an avid environmentalist and advocate for conservation, played a significant role in fostering this appreciation. Weekends at Highgrove, Charles's private estate in Gloucestershire, were filled with outdoor activities. William and Harry spent hours exploring the gardens, learning about organic farming, and helping their father plant trees. Charles often explained the importance of biodiversity, teaching them how each plant and animal played a role in the ecosystem. These lessons left a lasting impression, particularly on William, who admired his father's passion and commitment. Diana, too, encouraged her sons to embrace the outdoors, albeit in a more playful way. She often joined them for impromptu games of football or hide-and-seek on the palace grounds. It wasn't unusual to see her kicking a ball around with the boys, laughing and running just as much as they were, recalled a former staff member. Diana's energy and willingness to engage on their level made these moments even more special for her sons. Harry, in particular, loved the unstructured freedom of these outdoor adventures, while William often found joy in the quieter aspects, like lying on the grass and looking up at the sky. The boys also spent time at Balmoral Castle, the royal family's Scottish retreat, where the rugged landscape offered a stark contrast to the manicured gardens of Highgrove. At Balmoral, the princes were introduced to activities like fishing and hiking, traditions that had been part of the royal family for generations. Harry, always up for a challenge, eagerly took to the steep trails and chilly streams, while William appreciated the serenity of the Scottish countryside. These trips were often shared with their grandparents, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, who instilled in them a respect for tradition and the enduring beauty of the natural world. Another favorite outdoor activity was horseback riding, a skill that both boys learned at a young age. At Sandringham and Windsor, the princes practiced their riding skills under the watchful eyes of experienced instructors. Diana, though less enthusiastic about riding herself, was always there to cheer them on. Harry, with his fearless nature, quickly became an accomplished rider, while William's steady approach earned him praise for his precision and discipline. By 1997, as William entered his teenage years and Harry followed close behind, these outdoor escapades remained a cherished part of their lives. However, the shadow of their parents' separation and the increasing presence of the media began to encroach on their carefree days. Diana, aware of the pressures her sons faced, made every effort to preserve these moments of peace and joy. She often reminded them of the importance of connecting with nature, not just as an escape, but as a way to stay grounded and centered. The summer of 1997 began like many others for Prince William and Prince Harry, filled with outdoor adventures, laughter, and the constant presence of their mother. However, that sense of normalcy was shattered on August 31, 1997, when Diana tragically passed away in a car crash in Paris. The world mourned the loss of the people's princess, but for William, then 15, and Harry, just 12, it was a deeply personal tragedy that changed their lives forever. The news of Diana's death reached the young princes while they were staying at Balmoral Castle with their father, Prince Charles, and their grandparents, Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. Shielded from the media frenzy that erupted worldwide, Balmoral became a protective cocoon for the grieving boys. However, the absence of their mother was impossible to ignore. Diana had been their anchor, the one who brought light and joy into their lives. Her sudden loss left a void that nothing could fill. The days following the tragedy were a blur of emotion and protocol. William and Harry were expected to balance their private grief with the public role they had been born into. The boys walked solemnly alongside their father to attend church, their faces etched with the pain of loss. Yet their emotions were kept tightly controlled, as the monarchy's tradition of stoicism demanded. Behind closed doors, however, the grief was overwhelming. William, as the older brother, tried to be strong for Harry, while Harry struggled to process the enormity of what had happened. One of the most heartbreaking moments came during Diana's funeral on September 6, 1997. The image of William and Harry walking behind their mother's coffin, heads bowed, remains etched in the collective memory of millions around the world. Accompanied by their father, grandfather, and uncle, Earl Spencer, the young princes displayed a remarkable level of composure. Harry would later describe the experience as one of the hardest things he'd ever done, saying, "No child should be asked to do that under any circumstances." The outpouring of public grief was both a comfort and a challenge for William and Harry. In the days leading up to the funeral, thousands of mourners gathered outside Kensington Palace, leaving flowers, cards, and personal messages. Diana's connection to people from all walks of life was evident in the sheer scale of the tributes. William and Harry were deeply touched by the love shown to their mother, but it was also a stark reminder of the shared nature of their loss. While the world grieved for a princess, they mourned the loss of their mother, a woman who had read them bedtime stories, hugged them fiercely, and taught them to see the world with kindness and compassion. Charles, despite his own grief, tried to provide stability for his sons. He made sure they were surrounded by family and supported in their time of need. The Queen and Prince Philip also played pivotal roles, offering their quiet strength and reassuring presence. However, it was clear that the loss of Diana would leave a lasting impact on the boys. Her absence was deeply felt in the everyday moments, the lack of her laughter, her hugs, and her unwavering love. For William and Harry, the loss of Diana marked the end of their childhood in many ways. It forced them to confront the complexities of their roles as public figures while dealing with the deeply personal pain of losing their mother. Yet amidst the heartbreak, their bond as brothers grew stronger. Together, they faced the challenges of life after Diana, determined to honor her memory and carry forward the love she had so generously given them. In the years following their mother's tragic death, Prince William and Prince Harry began to navigate their lives with a new sense of purpose and independence. Their teenage years were marked by the challenge of balancing their royal responsibilities with the normal experiences of growing up, all while coping with the lingering grief of Diana's absence. These formative years saw the brothers start to carve out their own paths, shaped by the love and values their mother had instilled in them. For William, life as the heir to the throne meant growing into his role with increasing visibility and responsibility. By the late 1990s, he had become a quiet yet confident young man, known for his dedication to his studies and his growing interest in public service. At Eton College, where he continued his education, William excelled in academics, particularly in geography and history. Teachers often described him as diligent and thoughtful, qualities that endeared him to both his peers and educators. Yet, despite his focus, William remained approachable, with a sense of humor that often caught people by surprise. One of William's defining characteristics during this period was his sense of duty. Aware of the expectations placed upon him, he approached his role with maturity beyond his years. Public appearances, though rare, were met with grace and composure. He began to show signs of the statesmanship that would later define him, understanding the importance of connecting with people and representing the monarchy with dignity. Harry, in contrast, struggled to reconcile his public image with his personal identity. The loss of his mother had left him grappling with unresolved grief, which often manifested in rebellious behavior. At Ludgrove and later Eton, Harry was known for his lively, outgoing personality, but he also had moments of defiance that hinted at his inner turmoil. Teachers and classmates saw him as someone who lived in the moment, bringing energy and humor to every situation. But Harry often felt the weight of being compared to his older brother. Despite these differences, the brothers' bond remained unshaken. They leaned on each other during difficult times, finding comfort in their shared experiences. William, ever the protector, offered Harry guidance and support, while Harry's infectious humor and spontaneity provided a sense of levity. Together, they navigated the complexities of royal life, finding strength in their unity. As William and Harry transitioned into adulthood, the legacy of their mother, Princess Diana, remained a guiding force in their lives. Though the grief of losing her never entirely faded, her influence shaped the choices they made, the causes they championed, and the way they approached their roles within the royal family. By the early 2000s, both young men were stepping into the spotlight as individuals, each with a distinct path yet bound by shared values rooted in Diana's love and teachings. For William, the early 2000s marked a period of preparation and focus. After graduating from Eton College in 2000, he embarked on a gap year filled with experiences that reflected his mother's belief in the importance of broadening one's horizons. William traveled to Chile, where he participated in community service projects, including teaching children and assisting with local development initiatives. This time abroad not only allowed him to connect with people from different backgrounds, but also reinforced the value of service. In 2001, William began his studies at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland, where he pursued a degree in geography. The choice to attend university rather than immediately take on royal duties was significant. It signaled a desire for normalcy and personal growth before fully embracing the responsibilities of being the future king. At St. Andrews, William found a sense of freedom, forming close friendships and even meeting his future wife, Catherine Middleton. Though he remained conscious of his public role, his time at university allowed him to experience life as a student, balancing studies with a burgeoning social life. Harry's path during this time was markedly different but equally shaped by Diana's legacy. Following his graduation from Eton in 2003, Harry also took a gap year, during which he immersed himself in charity work and outdoor adventures. He traveled to Lesotho in southern Africa, where he worked with vulnerable children affected by HIV/AIDS. The trip had a profound impact on Harry, who later described it as a turning point in his understanding of others. Together, they embodied Diana's legacy, proving that her influence extended far beyond her years. With that, we have reached the end of today's video. If you have come this far with us, be sure to check out other videos on the channel. 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 Videos on the the channel. Other videos on the